I think I'm live. This is a project for Laszlo. He lives in Colorado. I just realized that rhymes. Laszlo from Colorado. Should be a rap song. And he wants this U-shaped configuration where you have two 40-foot shipping containers and one 40-footer across the back, which gives you 40 foot by 48 feet. And this is the original building that I had done for him. Don't pay any attention to that. Those two befores, I'm going to use them later. But he wanted to integrate some shipping containers that he has. So that's what I'm working on. And I thought I would finish out this framing, and it would be helpful for him to see how I'm doing this. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm working. These videos are for the owners. They're for entertainment purposes for those other people who are watching. And educational purposes. I hope to help people learn how to plan their projects. I need to make these unique because, whoops, there we go. I made both of those 2x8s components so I could just move one of them or change one of them, and they both change, but the spacing sometimes is different. I'm hoping the spacing is the same this time for the next set. Let's see if it is. Yeah, it is. It's just that first one is a little different because it's on the corner. These are basically 10 foot on center. Now what I should have done was copied. Yeah, I should have copied. This one should be the same. And I'm going to explain this. Oh, I know what happened. I know what it is. I'm trying to keep this spacing at 10 foot so that if he buys like 10 or 20 foot 2x4s, he can break them here, and also the studs are on a 2 foot layout. And I'll show more of that in a minute. But this last bay is a little bit longer because of that. I had them spaced evenly, and then I realized spacing them evenly doesn't really help because it won't, the length, he'll end up having to cut every purlin. I'll show you. These are the purlins over here I'm going to be copying in a minute. But now I'm going to put this plate on here. I'm just going to copy any of these. Oh, I know, I got this as a group, so I can copy these. Try to be a little efficient. And you just use the move command and hold the control key down when you want to copy something. Well, what do you know? Fits right in there, doesn't it? It's not going to fit this time, though. I already know that because I knew it. But it's okay. I think these are, I don't think these are components. I think this is just a group. Wait a minute, I better check. Oh wait, that is a component, so I need to make this one and this one unique. Let's see, when I change this one or the other one, they'll both change. And the reason I do that is because if Laszlo says, well, I want to change the spacing on these major columns, then I can, it'll be easier to change. See if we have anybody joining us. Not yet. It's okay. I'm working. And again, this is for Laszlo. I want him to be able to see how I'm doing this. Let's see. I can just grab all this at once. And as soon as I get this filled in, what did I grabbed something else over there. So that you got to be careful what you're doing, because when I grabbed this, I grabbed that over there too. Is this the same length? Yep. Now this one, yeah, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to change, again, I'm going to make this one and this one unique with each other. And the top one should have come over too. And it did. So, well, that looks like I need another 2-footer. Yeah, oh, that's right. This bay is longer, so I need another stud there. And those are on 2-foot layout all the way across. So from the corner. So if you had a 12-foot or a 10-footer or a 12-footer, you know, that's what you want. You want to be able to use common lengths and lay out your studs so that those will work. Now let me finish this wall framing, and then I was going to kind of go over the sequence of the wall framing for Laszlo, because he's going to build this himself. I have many customers, honestly, that build their own projects, and they do a really good job. Of course, most of them are kind of handy to begin with. Oops. Yeah, I'll have to copy that beam separately. It all works good, doesn't it? Why does it look like it's sticking out? Because it is. I didn't quite get that. What is that? Maybe this post is not quite flush. Aha. That's what it is. You'd be surprised that even though you think you're snapping to something, you can still mess up. It's not a perfect. See, I did it again. Right there to right there. There we go. It's not a perfect, world we live in. Now I'm gonna go get that. Well, let's see if this will work. It should work over here too. What am I snapping to there? Does that mean that column is not? I have yeah. I wonder if it's the column or the beam that's off. I'm hoping it's the column because I'm moving the column. This should be, I know how to check it. This should be 48 feet from that LVL to that LVL. Oh, 48 feet, 5.5. That's right. I had to run these past because he wanted the sign to go all the way down. that was one of the questions I asked him, if he wanted to just run the siding down, a little past the containers. And he said no, he wanted to go all the way down because I think he's concerned about his neighborhood restrictions and how it would look. The appearance of having shipping containers in your backyard might not be politically correct. Just kidding. These are kind of like headers to support that little wall. And they're just 2x8s. And they don't have to be treated. As a matter of fact, I'll probably change those. But that's the basic wall framing. Okay. So let's kind of go through the sequence here. Let's see if we have any comments. Hey, Duncan. I actually am going to work on your project next, Duncan. That's funny. I'll be working on this for a couple of hours, and then I'm going to head over onto your project. Hello, Alexander. Good afternoon, Tony, sir. Nice to see you there, Alexander. There's something more or less worth thinking of building to live in. Oh, yeah. It's a cool configuration. Laszlo doesn't want he just wants a gravel floor in here. So I've got these containers in the post sharing these concrete footings. Now what I have found it works well on these concrete footings is, let me turn off the grade here for a second, is you go dig yourself a hole with an auger attachment on your skid steer or backhoe or excavator, and these have to be, I got these at 3 feet now, but they may have to be deeper. But then once you dig that hole, just form up your footing on top, square on top of the ground. And of course, I'm showing the grade here, but it would be a 2x8, And what I have found is that it's easier to lay these out if they're square. And it's just, I don't know, I think they look better than having the sonotubes come all the way up. Besides that, you don't have to actually buy sonotubes. A lot of people make the mistake of buying a sonotube and sticking it all the way in the ground. Well, it's kind of a waste of money, to be honest with you. The ground, if you dig that hole with that auger and clean it out, that's your form. The ground is your form. And then all you have to do is form up this 24 by 24 by 8 inch thick. You can use a 2x8 on top of it, and the ground will hold up that square form because the corners are overlapping the hole, you see. And we do this a lot, and on for decks and porches and things like that. And I think it works really well. So then we got our footings. Let's turn off this other stuff so I can show the sequence. So we turn off let's turn off our post and beam and our walls, our studs. What we would do first is we would do our footings. Turn off our containers here just for effect. We got and I need to finish these footings. I don't have them all in here yet. I'm just started on this yesterday, I think. And then you'd set your containers in place, okay? And you'd want to do any kind of structural stuff first, like these brackets that you're going to weld or bolt. I'd weld these and then bolt your containers down, okay? Right. Then we're going to start with our post and beam structure. And these, you would put your post up first. And what I'm going to show here is some kind of clip angle, just clipping it to the container to hold it in place until you get the beam set on top. Okay, so you'd set all your columns, and those columns are sitting on these, what happened to my, oh, that's weird. These these Simpson post bases got stuck in the wrong layer. I'll have to fix that. That should be in, well, that's weird. It says untagged. It should be in wall, post, and beam. There we go. So they'll be sitting on, because what that does is those Simpson post bases will space your post up off the concrete an inch, but it'll also, you know, tie in, and you can't see the sides because it's covered up by this thing. And then you got these header, what I call header, you know, low headers that are basically spanning between those 2 points that'll help support this wall. Right. But really the wall, there's not much weight on that span of the wall because you got these LVLs running across. So all this kind of works together. My ground is solid limestone. Yeah, you may have to form your footings up on top of the limestone, Duncan. That's funny. Wrong button. So, but you know, out there, we see a lot of sandy, like in Texas and Florida, and even in Colorado, you'll see a lot of, you know, loamy, sandy soil. So these footings act like pylons, really, and the way they work is the friction against it is part of what holds it up. You'll see houses, you know, in Florida in the sand, these things will be 6, 8, 12 feet in the sand. But what holds them up is not what they're sitting on. It's the friction against the side of the column, the concrete column, that's holding it up. There's your little structure 101. So that's that. And then we will do our trusty roof here. I'll mess with these purlins later. Basically what I did was I copied these purlins. These are going to go, I'll just show you. I'm just going to copy these where they sit, because I want to put these purlins are for the metal siding. So what I'm going to do is I want to space them up off. I'm going to put them kind of flush with the bottom. You don't want them touching the concrete either. Okay. So our building's almost the same height. That's good. But that's kind of how the purlins will work. And oops, except, I wonder if I made those components. That would be nice if you know what I can do? There is a trusty tool that Medic has. I'll show you. You can copy this and then paste it out here. If you have a surface, let's see, where do I want this to stop? I need to get that right on that corner and then run it down. And you're thinking, what are you doing? I'm going to show you, I promise. I want to run this all the way down. This is a temporary face I'm creating. And I'll show you. This is a neat tool, one of the neatest tools that Medic, the extension builder, Nathan Wilkerson, has come up with. Oopsie. I should have made that unique because all my studs wanted to come up with it. There we go. Now watch this. I can go to Medic, Truss. He's got these tools. One of them's trim. and you just select the face that you want to trim to, and then you just pick your items. See? Isn't that cool? And then you can just delete the thing that you used. Oh, what in the world? That was weird, I hit the wrong button. Who knows how to disable the page up button? That's always scary when I hit that button. But that's a neat tool, because I made these groups. I didn't make them components, so let's see if we got any comments. Yep, skin friction, same in clays. Yep. So that'll be kind of how the purlins work all the way around. And it may seem like an overkill, but this is actually cheaper than putting, OSB. OSB's gotten so crazy, the cost on it's gotten so crazy that, this will be a lot easier to do as a do-it-yourself project, and then you can just screw the metal siding, to it. Now let's do the roofs here, which is, again, Nathan Wilkerson is a friend of mine. He has become a friend of mine. And I love his extensions. Roof truss, we're going to do a standard, just a common roof truss. Nathan's a smart guy. He actually, there's engineering, a lot of these truss components or extensions are just, they'll just draw a truss, what you think of as a truss. And but Nathan's got, if you go to his website, you'll see the engineering behind them. So here we go. Top cord, we want that to be a 312. Laszlo wants it to be a 312. 24-inch minimum on this big building for overhang. All this other stuff looks good. We got truss spacing, 24-inch gable end trusses. Yes, that's, let's see, no. Okay, so I got one end. I'm going to say yes, because this back end, a gable end truss goes on this house line, the end, and it's a non-load bearing situation. It's load bearing, but it's not spanning, so it doesn't have to have the cords, and it's used, you'll see, to nail siding and sheeting to 24 inches. We want our advanced roof stuff, and then I'm just going to leave, let's see, roof sheeting, yes. I'm going to leave all this alone for now. And we're going to see a magic roof appear. Now here's your gable end truss, but you can see this truss on this end is spanning. So what we'll do, spanning that 24 feet there, this one's not. So it'll work fine back here. But what we're going to do is we're just going to take another truss and we'll put it up against that one. So I think that's probably the cheapest and easiest and quickest way to go on that. And that's kind of the shell. Let's see, now what I'll do is I had this other job I was working on for Eric. I made this 5v10 roof that looks good, and we'll put it on there. What did I have on? Let's see, Laszlo's building though. Do I already have it? No, this was a quickie job. This was like kind of a schematic project I did for Laszlo to begin with, and it has the Medic's. It has his texture on there, which is okay, but I don't like it because it's just textures don't show up when you start to print your drawings, because anyway, it's a long story. But yeah, it's gonna turn out good. Now, originally we were gonna have a door on here, but he changed his mind. Let's see if I have any more comments. Oh. And I think it's going to work well. He's going to park his equipment in here, and it's going to be a good looking building. Actually, I like the scale of it so far. It looks like the Parthenon, the Colorado Parthenon. I have to change the thumbnail out. But if I went back, I'll show you the difference between. I go back here and I say, let's see, we do want gable wall sheeting, yes. Outlookers. Roof cladding, yes. I thought I had turned all this on. So we will put this as, let's see, roof cladding material. Here we go. He does have the 5V corrugated. We'll just call it corrugated metal for now. Okay, we'll update that. Then we'll zoom in. But you can see that it's a texture, okay, which is fine, okay. But when we go to print our drawings, what we do is we print. So if I go to the front elevation, well, I should go to the side, right side, okay. So when we go to print our elevations, we don't print them in color because it would be very expensive. We use this style here to print. You can see now you've got a black and white drawing, and you don't have to worry about your page being soaked with ink, right? So you can see on my roof, I have an actual physical roof. It's drawn. So when I look at my elevations, I get to see roof lines. I get to see textures, but on this you don't see it because the texture doesn't show up. And look, even the siding, you see. But if we go back to that, this style, you can see it. But anyway, that's just kind of an explanation of the differences in the styles there. But I'm going to go back and turn that off because that's one thing I hope Nathan adds in the future is sort of more realistic roofing materials. And for some reason, the roof framing layer was turned off. And so that is that. Let's see. Questions? So the question is now what to do next. I think I'll go ahead and put the roofing on. I have these sheets here. Let's see. Let's go select one of them. Sometimes you got to get it the right angle to just. Is that a whole sheet? Yeah, I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going to take it over here. Paste. All right, well, it looks like we got the same pitch. That's handy. Sometimes I have to change the pitch. And that'll just go flush right here. Then it'll hang over 1.5 inches. Let's see, I don't have my fascia board on yet, so that's we'll call it 2.5 for now. And then I like to raise it up just a little bit, just so it doesn't show that ghosting. Doesn't ghost. This is one complaint I've always had with SketchUp. Sometimes you can see lines through other materials. Kind of annoying, but anyway, you can see as I zoom out, you can see the trusses under the decking. You see, and if I keep going, if I zoom in at a certain point, it goes away. And somebody told me what the deal is with that a long time ago, and I forgot what it was, but I'm not going to worry about it. So what I do on this metal roofing is I leave I leave a gap here at the top, and also cut the decking back. And now that's on a roof that needs to be ventilated. This roof, I don't know, I'm going to do it the way I normally do it because it's going to have a ridge cap on it. But that would just be dependent on whether you're going to. One thing it just occurred to me too is that this roofing sits flush, because on metal roofing you'll have metal edge trim here that laps down. But I don't know what kind of fascia. I need to get with Laszlo and see if he's going to put a soffit on the building or what. But we know this building is 48 feet long, so we're going to need 16 pieces of this. So we're going to copy it over, and then I'm going to say times 15 because I've already got one. See how far that gets us. Of course, we have an overhang, on each end, so that's going to add one. And then we'll probably have a cut piece. Yep. And then that'll have to be a unique one. I'll have to make this sheet unique. And then draw myself a line. Give myself a reference point here. Oops. There we go. And this will go all the way up to here. Like that. And then I can just delete all this stuff. As long as I get it all. Yep. There we go. Delete that guide. And I should have made a group here. Let's see if I can get lucky and just select them without selecting other stuff. Uh-oh. Make a group. There must be something I missed on this. Probably down here. Mouse is messing up. I guess not. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is take that group and I'll copy it over. And get it out there where I can mess with it and mirror it. -1. Oops, invalid scale. What? Let me undo that. Was that +1 then? No, I said -1, Goober. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing over here to get this in the same position. We will put this right there. I've learned that if you do everything the same way, 2.5, it will be in the same place as the other side. And then that'll be our roof. And then there will be, I wonder what happened to the, I had a metal cap on one of these roofs. Oh look, that's funny. I made them longer. Oh, and it got, this was just I was kind of robbing, this is Eric's building. I'm going to go ahead and delete all this stuff now because it's starting to become annoying. And let's see, I can delete all of this stuff. And let's see. It just occurred to me I had purlins on his, I'm going to save these because I need to ask him if he wants to use roof decking or purlins on top of the trusses. Checking comments. Now this, let's see, did I delete my metal on my roof bracing? Not my metal. Oh, speaking of metal, this wall, I need to come up with a diagonal bracing scheme here. And we'll probably use these metal strap anchors, and this is kind of a question for Laszlo. You can buy these images. You can buy these rolls, or let's see. See here, this wall, see how you have this X bracing on here? Those are metal straps, and you can buy them. There's another picture. I don't know why they have two of them. Some code probably requires it somewhere. But basically all you're doing is, bracing the wall. Here's a good picture, And you do it, the reason you have that is because if you don't use sheeting, your OSB, wall sheeting on the outside, you don't have a diaphragm, you don't have any bracing in the wall. So you have to do this kind of thing. And we used to have them, they used to come like 10 feet long. I'll find the product, but you can still buy them, obviously. Here's a good picture. It's just a metal strap with holes in it, and you can screw or nail it, at that diagonal, and you lap it up over the plate. Anyway, I think that gives you a good idea. But before these purlins go on, and it's not that thick, so to turn the purlins off. I have way too many, here we go. I have way too many layers, and I'm not sure what happened to my purlins. I'll find them later. But we would need to find some long ones because they need to go from this LVL up here all the way down to this bottom, header thing I've got at the bottom of the wall supporting the studs. So you'll need one there. Usually we would just put one, at a minimum, you'd put one on each corner coming back down there, and then we'll have to come up with a bracing scheme for here, and the inspector will probably want to see some angle braces right here and all that. And then on the roof, let's turn off the metal roofing for a second. What is this? What layer is this in? Untagged. Well, that's weird. It should be Should have been in that metal roofing layer. Okay, or roof cladding. And then we want to turn off our roof sheeting. See if we can roof sheeting. And so what I was trying to get to is this bracing of the roof too. I got to work on that. Because if we go to roof bracing, oh, it's over here. Yeah. You'll have these, you'll have some diagonal bracing in the roof and some purlins, and I know this isn't going to work. I'll just bring it over and then I'll edit it. I'm just going to show you. What it is after you get your trusses up, you'll have these I'll go up in there as high as you can get it. You'll have a diagonal brace, and obviously this bracing was for another job, so I'll have to edit it. But you'll have a diagonal brace coming down like this, and then you'll have a purlin coming across the middle of that bottom cord. And I'm inside the wall here, inside the truss. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff I got to work on. And the main thing I was wanting to do is show Laszlo how I was going to frame these walls, and then see what he thought before I get too far into the siding. I think this is probably the best option, because what you have here, basically the structural system is you've got these columns every 10 feet holding up the LVLs, which support the roof. And then as an infill to put your siding onto, you'll have this stud wall, 2x6s at 2 foot on center. And to support those, we'll just have this basic, header down here, sort of inverted header. And that'll support just that part of the wall, because you don't need a lot to support that part of the wall, because you have an LVL header up here. So that's I've done this kind of thing before on barns, and on big shed buildings like this, and it works really well. So that's kind of the start of this project, and I'll have a video about the completion of it. There's going to be a lot of space in there, isn't there? He'll be storing things up here. I think lumber, and eventually he's going to build some lumber racks, and he's going to extend these shed roofs. He's going to extend shed roofs down on each side, like that, on either side. Tony's on the warpath again with those. I know. But I can't get away. I can't escape them. That's my. I've been cursed. But they actually obviously work good for this type of occupancy storage. So, and especially if you already have them, might as well use them. You just need to, people just need to learn how to build around them. And you'll notice that I don't have any weight placed on the roof of these containers. See, he had to start trouble. But a lot of people, and you'll go on the internet and you'll see them trying to put posts like this on top of the corners, and that's really not. I have other videos that show how you can do that, but what you have to do is kind of help. You have to reinforce the inside of the container at that point, about every 10 feet, just like I'm doing here. But most people don't want to take up space inside the container. So in a situation like this, the other thing you got to deal with is code officials. This is more of a typical building, you see, and it's columns and studs and beams and purlins. If the building inspector comes out and now you got all this roof structure sitting on the edge of this container, which is not structural. It's just a little 2-inch channel. He's going to say, where's your engineering drawings? And then you're going to end up having to go pay an engineer to engineer it. You don't want that. It's cheaper just to go ahead and do it like this. See what you started, not strike. Yeah. Here's my part of Texas using containers changes the property tax rate in my county is versus traditional structure. Here in my part of Texas using containers changes. How would it change the property tax? You mean it affects the property tax? It affects the property value? Because I don't think it would change the tax rate just because you put a container on a piece of property. It might affect its value, but I don't think you can. Normally, a municipality bases their tax structure on zoning, so you have to check the zoning that you're in that to make sure that they would allow a building like this in the first place. And that's what I tell all my customers. If you'll notice, if you go to my website and look at one of the questions I ask on the form, on the request for service form here, does your project require stamped drawings? Is a site plan required? You may have to show setbacks from property lines. Will your project have a sewer? So what I'm trying to do here is get basic information on whether, the type of occupancies that are allowed and raise those questions right off the bat. And most people will go do research on their property before they contact me, which is what I want them to do. Now, Laszlo's already got a building similar to this on his property, so he's very familiar with his zoning and what he can do. And of course, when we get these drawings done, he'll submit these. After I do the model, I do printable drawings. He'll submit those printed drawings to his local city. I think he actually has a homeowners association too, which is not good. That's the first thing I always do when I start to buy a piece of property is make sure I do not have a homeowners association. Sir, in my county, they charge by the square foot of the structure. But you still have zoning requirements. You still have, you can't just go put a liquor store right next to a church, right? So they'll typically have zoning requirements that tell you what type of occupancies can be put adjacent to other types of occupancies. You typically won't have a nuclear power plant next to a subdivision. Paint it camo and no one will know. That's right. There's a couple going up out here. I opted out of a standard structure for an office and bought a mobile. Yeah, the mobile offices, it's funny because mobile offices, I've seen them actually made out of modified containers. There's a company here locally that will take a container and they'll put, an office door and an office window, and it's on a trailer frame. It's basically a container, but it's been modified to look like an office trailer. And it's funny how people just look at things differently just because of a little configuration change. What I'm going to do is I actually need to work on Duncan's project. So this is as far as I was going to go on this one today. Oh, by the way, I need to talk to Nathan about this. I've been meaning to. These hurricane, we call them hurricane ties or rafter ties. They go on the inside of the wall. They don't go. But thankfully he's got these trusses as components, so I usually just go in here and change one of them, and thankfully it changes all of them. They go on the inside, and the reason they do is because you can't nail them. First of all, when the building inspector is looking for them, he looks for them on the inside. And then when you're nailing them, you have plenty of room to nail. You can swing your hammer or run screws in. If it's on this side of the rafter tail or the tail of the truss, you can't, the rafter tail is coming down at an angle, and it's hard to, it's harder to fasten it there. It also interferes with your exterior sheeting. Here, they're not that thick. They don't really, if you have an interior wall finish, they don't really, I've never noticed any kind of effect. They don't make the drywall lumpy or anything like that. But yeah, they go on the inside of the wall. And I don't know why he's got them there. It's just one of those things. They go. I mean, I guess technically it doesn't matter, but they typically, the ones I like are I know there's one in 3D Warehouse that's a Simpson, let's see, rafter, if I can spell, rafter tie, and it is this one. This is the one I like. Now sometimes sign in, goober. What is my sign? I can never, ever since Trimble bought SketchUp, they do this thing where you get signed out now a bunch. But anyway, this is the one I like. Now sometimes your local code official will say, no, use this. I think this is like an H1 or an H10 or something like that. But depending on what wind zone you're in Tennessee here, we only have to design to like 75-mile-an-hour winds. These are typically what you'd see in a 150-mile-an-hour area, like Florida or someplace, but they still go on the inside of the wall. Mine is the satellite code type. What? Satellite code type. Let me see what that is. Let's go see what that is. We'll just. Yeah, I mean, when I think of, this is what we typically in construction we think of here as an office trailer, but I think I just saw, funny enough, we were talking about, I think, isn't this a modified, nope. I know there's a local company here in Chattanooga that does it. They will, and wouldn't you know, I couldn't find it. They look more like this, and I think they're well, I know for a fact that one company modifies shipping containers. Yeah, here you go. It's like this. It's basically a shipping container. Oops, not the video. Anyway, I think we get my drift. The other thing I like to do is on these outlooks, I like to do what we call structural outlookers, and this is, thankfully, that is an option. I like to run them vertically, and I like to have a drop truss, and that's going to update this, and it'll show you what it is. So what it does is, and this is a lot stronger, you can park a tank on your overhang if you do it this way. What happens is the outlooks get cantilevered. Let me turn off the wall sheeting. There we go. What you do is you have your truss manufacturer build what we call a drop truss. It's basically 3.5 inches, or it allows this outlook to nail flush with the top of that first truss, and cantilever out over, and that's a really strong overhang. Especially if you're going to have a 2 foot, and this is not. It looks like I didn't get my 2 foot overhang here. Just looking at it. Where is that? Is it 24? Yeah, it should be. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see with that 24-inch overhang that it's how important it gets to be that outlook is cantilevered there. So, and just to show you what it looks like if it's not structural, what we call structural. If I go back and I just turn this off, I'll just say no, where they would be laying flat horizontally like that, you see. And you can see now there's no structural quality to that at all. There's nothing really supporting the barge rafter. We call this rafter out here the barge rafter. There's nothing supporting it. So I'm going to go back and change that back to structural. Yes, and vertical. Yes. The other thing is too that it does is it automatically creates the blocking for your soffit. If you put them on 2 foot centers, then you can come and nail your soffit directly to them. And so you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And what happens is this drop truss, what the truss company will do is they'll go ahead and put a tail on here like this. So you're not missing a tail. They do that, and then your structural outlookers start right there. Any questions? I've seen. That's it. About this 14 by 60. Yeah. Actually, I started to buy a used one of those one time and use it as a little fishing cabin. I was looking for some cheap lakefront property. Never found that cheap lakefront property. It's funny. All right, guys. Hush, not struck. No questions. I think you're being facetious, right? You're saying just end it now, end it all now. All right, guys. Well, I am going to end it here because I have to go work on Duncan's, and Duncan's already seen the way it's going, so I'm not sure if I'll do that live or not, unless Duncan wants me to. It's because lakefront property isn't cheap. Yeah, but there's still some relatively cheap lakefront property, especially if it's property where like septic tanks have been turned down and people can't build houses on them. But if you wanted to go do a little off-grid cabin and there were no restrictions, you can still get, because we got the Tennessee River running up and down through Tennessee here, and there's all kinds of, riverfront, lakefront property that you can buy, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for an acre. And but it's very rural. And anyway, I'm going to end this here. And thanks, guys. I appreciate all the comments in the chat while I work. It keeps me company. See ya.